The Mavs are 6-2 in their last 8. Luka's still Luka. KP's still KP, and he's still hurt. Will the Mavericks trade KP before the All-Star break? Let's discuss. Hey guys, welcome back to Mavs Talk. We're going to jump right into it. So the Mavs are 6-2 in their last 8, 3-2 in the last 5. Interesting stat line, courtesy of Jacob. In their first 10 games, they were 6-4. Their next 10 games, they were 2-8 when we had a lot of players out with COVID. And since they've been 8-3, we've been dealing with postponements because of the weather over here in Texas, if you guys hadn't heard about it or hadn't lived it. And we did see a little bit of an emergence of KP playing well down the stretch, started to show flashes of what we were hoping that he would become. But then again, in KP fashion, he's been out with a bad back. What we don't know is, are they holding him out because, they're looking to trade him, or is he really hurt? We have the All-Star break coming up, which is typically a pretty heavy trading time of the season. So, Jacob, we'll kick it to you. Let's talk about their games going back to the Pelicans game, kind of in that stretch where they were 3-2. And what are your thoughts on those games? And then we'll get to the more recent games as well as tonight's game.
Yeah, so the Mavs Pelicans game was before all the ice storms, and that was really a game that got me excited about Porzingis and Luka, because Porzingis had 36 and a double-double, and Luka had 46, 8, and 12, which was his career high and still is, I guess.
Right.
And they won, and of course it's against Zion. And then the next night, KP played that night too for the next game, and they played Portland. And if they play Portland, it's always going to be an exciting game. Those games are always close, and they ended up losing, but it was still an encouraging game.
They got a nice dose of Damian Lillard, didn't they?
Yep. Right after Luka was named a starter over him too, or right before actually.
That's right.
Yeah. Sorry, Jacob.
No,
to your point. Yeah, to your point. Out of the last 18 games, 16 of them have been decided by single digits or gone into overtime.
Yeah.
So It was a close game. The biggest thing that for me from Mavs Pelicans, like you said, I was feeling great. That's what they wanted to see from Luka and KP as a duo. And then Porzingis followed it up with a pretty average performance. He had 18 points, 8 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you take a step forward and then you take one back. So that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
And consistency's been the concern too, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, it seems like KP can put up some hollow numbers from time to time. I try to pay attention to where he's affecting the game. If it's closer to the rim, then it seems like he has a bigger effect. And he did that against the Pelicans, inside out, and then really passive the following game. You would have liked to have been able to see him build on that momentum.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy when you look at his stats for the year. It's not what you would expect. It's a little higher than I expect. I think it was like 22-9 or something like that, which seems like him being 22-9 doesn't seem like that, because I think it's, I don't know, he's always either above or below, but it seems like there's more below, I guess, and maybe it's just him being inconsistently in, or like Robert said, hollow stats.
Like Tony Romo.
Yeah, Dak Prescott last year, hollow stats.
Oh, Dak
you put up those stats though too.
Yeah. Okay, well.
And then after that game, after the Portland game, they lost. They got 2 games delayed against the Pistons and the Rockets, which is unfortunate because those are two they've been favored in that game. Pistons just have nobody, and then Jeremy Grant, but that's about it. And then the Rockets would have had injuries. They don't have Oladipo or Wood right now, and now they make up the game in March or April, probably. So,
yeah, I think we're to the point now. It would have been 2 nice games we could get under our belt. Well, I've seen Detroit surprise some teams though.
Yeah, they play good against really good teams, but
yeah.
But now those games are going to be back-to-back games also, which is another kind of a sucky thing. But then they played the Grizzlies without Porzingis. That's when the ice storm hit, and Porzingis had a week off practice, and somehow his back got stiff. I saw I saw that they were working on him getting defensive stance because he's the worst defensive player in the league stats wise right now.
Wow.
Yeah. Marvin Bagley is the second worst, and Porzingis is the worst.
They were saying like
defensive efficiency or something like that.
yeah, it's defensive efficiency, but they were kind of like even like they're like wow, you know, because you know how sports radio is, so they got their sources, and they were just like talking about when you look at him, it looks like he's even has trouble getting into a defensive stance.
Yeah.
And so that's, you know, somebody with an injury history like his, man, that's pretty scary. And if that gets out in the league, you know, we've been debating like, is he really hurt? Are they trying to trade him? I mean, if that gets out in the league, he's not gonna have any value.
How's Luka's defense?
Luka's defense is pretty good. Definitely better than the last. His defense has been improving. I think mostly though over the last 5 or 6 games, his 3-point percentage has been really good. He's in the beginning he was really bad 3-point shooting wise, but I mean you saw it in the Celtics game, which we'll get to in a bit. But he hit 2 really clutch threes there. And back to the Porzingis thing, their defense was really good against the Grizzlies. They only scored 92 points.
Yep.
And then against the Celtics, 107. That's not great, and they were shooting pretty bad.
Robert, you had a nice stat line for the Pelicans game: 5 players in double digits, and then they made a franchise record 25 3-pointers.
Right.
Which you see the result scoring 143 points. So I just wanted to call that out. That's nice to see all that kind of come together.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Pelicans had scored 54 points in the paint, which is par for facing us. But when you have like Zion, he's so quick and powerful to the rim. That's the only way that we were able to overcome those 54 points in the paint by New Orleans was making a franchise record 25 3-pointers. So
it's nice when it happens. You just can't rely on it, right?
live or die by the 3.
Yeah.
So Luka in 10 February games has been shooting almost 45% from 3, which compared to his beginning of the season, he was shooting like 20. So
45 is unreal.
Yeah, and that's over the last 10 games besides tonight, besides the Philly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's you know, you asked about Luka's defense. I mean, that was one area where he has improved his game. You see him a lot more aggressive with his hands, getting a lot more deflections. I think maybe it's just him you know, in better condition, obviously specifically this year, getting comfortable with the speed of the game and things of that nature. But even his free throw shooting has gotten better as well, even though last game was horrible. But overall he hasn't improved.
So let's go ahead, Jacob. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, up until the Grizzlies game, he was shooting really well. I think now he's shooting 77%. I work at Amazon, and I can see how KP can get some back problems from getting defensive stance, because sometimes when I don't use my knees when I'm picking up a box, it hurts my back afterwards. So maybe that's what happened. I'm not sure.
So two takeaways: if your Amazon package is ever late, just email Jacob and ask him where your Amazon package is. The second one would be make sure you work on that defensive stance for when we get a rematch against UND. So, all right, so good stuff. So let's kind of move on to the 2 more recent games. The Mavs and the Celtics. Mavs beat the Celtics 110-107. I'm sure everybody saw the, shot of the month, or maybe even of the quarter, or the first half of the season. Luka hitting that step back 3-pointer. And then we can talk a little bit about the game tonight as it's just wrapping up. So what are y'all's thoughts on those 2 games? We can start with the Mavs Celtics.
Yeah. So
that was, go ahead. Okay. No, I was just going to say that was the 2 shots of the first half of the season. Cause he hit the game winner, but the one before that was pretty clutch as well. So Luka has that clutch gene, man, as we've seen last year against the Clippers. So yeah, it was a good game.
That Celtics game was like they were up by 12 with like 4 minutes left, and it was getting that disaster mode that happened a lot last year, where they would blow a lead, and they were actually down by 1, and then Luka at those 2 threes, once down by 1 and once tied, and saved it. But it saved a really bad clutch loss. And then Brunson really came alive in that fourth quarter. And just this whole last 7-game span, him and Luke have been carrying. They've both been really good.
Yeah, it was I I think one thing too on this one here, we held the Celtics below their season average, but without Kleba too.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, KP had missed his second game back, and then but Kleba had turned his ankle the game before. So good defensive effort. One thing that I noticed from the break, you know, where it was just due to weather, right? And then when we came back, we heard all the stuff about, well, we practiced really hard, focused on defense. You could really tell the difference in effort. I don't know if it was a spark because KP was gone or just, you know, the extra focus, but you could really tell just the defensive effort. And then specifically like Finney Smith, like even tonight, Finney Smith was all over the place defensively.
Right.
It didn't pan out for us.
Yeah, they're much better on defense without Porzingis, and hopefully that changes. Because I don't know, kind of his MO in New York was blocking shots and being a two-way player. But I guess that hasn't happened here. I mean, I don't expect him to guard wing players well, but
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't really do anything right now. Maybe blocks occasionally a shot or two. But
Well, even to be able to alter shots, right? Where
Yeah.
players that come into the lane have to think about him, and I don't know. We always talk about that, Robert, just altering players' shots as they get closer to the.
Well, and he does do that
Okay.
to some, but like him reading the floor is off. He looks just a step slow, really. He still alters some shots. It's just before it'd be 10 a game, and now it's like 3 or 4. You know.
Carlisle's comment on the week was that, you know, hey, we were focusing on defense, and he said it was a mindset. You know, it was, and we talked about that here. You know, being timid. Is he still trying to get healthy? Still getting adjusted to the speed of the game? That was telling to me. It seems as if Carlisle has been like, hey, come on, let's go. We need you to be more aggressive, both ends of the floor. And it's like they can't get him to flip that switch, you know what I mean? And just stay on with his aggressiveness.
So one note that you had called out, Robert, and I believe Jacob, you had said that already. Brunson had 22 off the bench in that game, which was a career high for him. And then again, 5 players overall in double digits. So good win. That's always exciting. It's always exciting to get a win, but to get a win like that, you know, kind of pumps a little bit of life into the team. So, you know, surely after that high, they came out tonight and they took it to the 76ers, which of course they didn't. I'm looking at the final score. Final score tonight was Dallas Mavericks 97, Philadelphia 76ers 111. Just looking at the quick stat line, no Mavericks scored over 20 points. Luka had 19, and the next highest scorer was Josh Richardson at 13. So I know you guys probably got to watch most of the game before we started filming. So what are y'all's takeaways from that?
Yeah, Ben Simmons can't shoot, but he's a lockdown defender. And this is just a matchup nightmare. It's really like the Lakers from last year, except they have Ben Simmons instead of whoever would guard Luka usually last year. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, a big in the paint, either Dwight Howard and Embiid, and then Simmons on him originally, and they would be double teaming him a little bit, and just matchup nightmare for Luka and just for the Mavs.
It's a nightmare matchup, man. On the wing, they're long. Tobias Harris, as you stated, Ben Simmons, even Curry looked like he had an extra pep in his step today on the defensive end that we didn't see when he was with us. So I think it's just once you get over there on a good defensive team, it's just infectious. They had really active hands, and that side of the court just seemed like compressed. Anytime they were moving around, or just a lot of deflecting a lot of balls.
Yeah. So another thing from this Philly game, it seemed like the Mavs started out trying to play Philly's game, which they didn't have the firepower for. I mean, they started Boban to stop Embiid, but then kind of clogged everything on offense. And they tried to play big. I mean, they barely shot any threes in the first half. I think it was like 10. And then that's frustrating because against the Warriors, when they had no center, they shot a ton.
It seems
they just don't. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, they don't have the firepower to play big against Dwight Howard and Embiid when they have Cauley Stein and Powell. Powell, I don't even want to talk about Powell tonight. He looked terrible. But
they had an opportunity there early in the game, man, when the Sixers weren't shooting as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And But I guess that's when you play defense the way the Sixers, you don't have to be as efficient on offense. You know what I mean? So we missed an opportunity there. Part of it was, like you said, the way Rick's kind of started the lineup.
Yeah. And
We should have went small.
Cauley Stein like missed a dunk. If we could flip Cauley Stein and Powell for like Dwight Howard, I think this team would be instantly better.
It's a concerning trend that the Mavs don't take advantage of playing their game against an opponent. They seem to play the opponent's game. I don't know. That's concerning. Okay, good stuff, guys. So let's move on. So we're going to talk about a huge blunder that was made by Carlisle, I think, by most people's admission. And then also, too, we'll get into what's next from the Mavs. So we'll jump right into it. So, Robert, you want to talk about that hiccup against Portland?
Yeah, so it was a close game. Most games between the Mavericks and Blazers are. So there was a down the stretch, basically. You have Lillard isolated on Finney Smith, basically out on an island. And we've seen where Carlisle, he'll run a double team at some of these point guards, Trey Young and stuff like that, trying to mix it up, get the ball out of their hands. And that's like the one guy you don't want to let beat you. So he was left on the island. Lillard hits that three, and everybody's kind of questioning, for one, why is Finney Smith on the island with him? And then two, there was actually like a foul. You could have fouled in that situation. And so a lot of people are kind of pointing to that as reason for the loss.
Yeah.
So yeah. Jacob, how'd you feel about it?
I think that situation, you try to get the ball out of his hands, or if he does shoot, not a one-on-one shot. I mean, you saw Luka against Celtics hit a shot against two defenders. I think they're not as mad about that as the Mavs should be about letting Dame go one-on-one with Smith. I think it brings up a bigger question of like who should be on the floor down the stretch in Mavs games, because they have like 7 or 8 players that could be, especially with Brunson playing really well and Hardaway playing well. But I thought Josh Richardson was in to guard guards, but he's never even on the floor down the stretch. So that's kind of, I'm sure it's a coaching thing more so than maybe Carlisle's not comfortable with him guarding guards. But
so it's interesting what you wrote in the notes for the outline, Robert, where after the fact, everybody was on Carlisle, including us in the text thread. But after the fact, it was kind of found out that he called for the double team and they didn't just execute it. So I just wanted to call it out that, I was ready to fire Carlisle after hearing that. So that's really interesting. So next we're going to talk a little bit about KP, thoughts about him at the trade deadline. And looks like we have some a wish list from you guys. So Jacob, we'll kick this one off with you. What are your thoughts on what maybe they could do?
Yeah, I think going for someone like John Collins would be a good trade. I mean, he plays pretty similar to KP, except he's like almost always available. Not sure what that would take to give up. I don't even know if I would do the KP for him straight up, but if KP can't stay healthy, then that's always the biggest question mark. I mean, ideally you could get a second star or a third star to go with KP, but with the trade rumors going around, let's say for the right price, I wouldn't be that mad if KP left. Try to get someone in free agency.
With John Collins, the reason that they're speculating him as a possibility is because the Hawks aren't going to be able to. They feel like they're not going to be able to afford him. So then they may move him, or he may become a free agent in the offseason. Do you feel like, would you give John Collins a max contract based on how he would fit here?
With KP?
No.
Without KP?
No, yeah. Let's say we move KP. Would you turn around and give John Collins a max contract?
I mean, you gave KP a max contract. He can't stay healthy, so.
Hey, that answers that, right?
I mean, John Collins, I would say if they're both healthy, John Collins is a worse player, but playing 75 games and being a little worse is better than playing 40 games and being a little better, So.
Yeah, I've seen, John Collins, maybe it's because we lack so much physicality, but every time we play John Collins, he does, his stat line, let's see here, he's averaging 18 and 7. And the year before that, he averaged 21 and 10, which is kind of like right in line with KP, right?
Yeah.
And we said like, okay, KP can put up those numbers, but where is he putting up those numbers from? Is it from the perimeter, or is he down low in the paint, really affecting the game? And every time I see Collins, man, he's rolling to the basket, banging around. He's really physical. I think numbers wise, I think they're similar, but I think Collins provides us more of kind of like what we need. You know what I mean?
So ideally, they could get him without giving up too much. I mean, I see it ideally. I don't know if they trade Porzingis, I'm okay with it. But ideally, they could get a third or second star instead of getting rid of Porzingis and basically just replacing the second star. So do you think Collins would fit with Porzingis? Because he would be a power forward technically, but he's more of a bruiser than Porzingis.
No, if I was gonna pair somebody, you know, like with KP, we listed here also Andre Drummond has been talked about as a possibility as well. I think the Cavs are sitting him till they can move him. So I don't know what it would take, but he's averaging 17 and 13, which that surprised me, man. Like I didn't know that he was 17 points a game that's pretty good.
I see there's a big debate like on Twitter if Andre Drummond would be a good fit or not, and I really don't understand it. Like he's basically going to be free from the Cavs. Maybe give him a second rounder and like Powell or something, and that's enough. And then he's on an expiring contract. Like there's no, at worst, he's just a glorified Willie Cauley-Stein who makes a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, and it's annoying how the Mavs will like completely dismiss it because, you know, and especially for them because they saw how when you pair, you know, somebody who's not as physical like Dirk and you pair him with somebody who is physical and more rounded defensively in Chandler, you win a championship.
Yeah.
Well,
so
everybody
why not
forgets.
try it again?
Everybody forgets about Sean Marion.
Well, yeah, I mean, you need your perimeter defender, but I think you benefit in two ways. In that you improve your rebounding, but then that frees up KP to just be KP, which he wants to just be out on the perimeter, and that's what he does best. So it's kind of twofold. It's a win-win, man.
The Mavs have no like rough, like rugged big men. Like KP is really good when he's healthy, but he doesn't need to be rugged. He's that good. But Powell and Cauley-Stein aren't that at all.
Well, and is anyone scared of KP? Right?
No.
Is anybody going? I don't really want to go inside because I'm gonna get roughed up by KP. I don't think anybody's saying that.
Yeah,
hell no.
That's why I would instantly do like Cauley-Stein and Powell for Drummond or Cauley-Stein and Powell for Howard or something, just a bruiser, you know?
Yeah,
because they don't have that at all.
All right, good stuff, guys. So just a quick look ahead. We're gonna look at the Mavs' next 3 games before the All-Star break. We have the Nets, the Magic, and the Thunder. Before we look ahead to that, though, just kind of give me a real quick brief. What do you think the Mavs need going down the stretch, to make a run? Looking forward to the second half of the season a little bit. Robert, go ahead. Go first.
We need KP back, man, and he needs to contribute on the inside and the outside. Luka just continue to do what he does. And all the role players need to take a step forward. We've seen improved effort on the defensive end. If we can keep that there, then I think that we'll be able to make a run at the 6th seed or one of the play-ins.
Yeah, to not be in a play-in position so that means 6th seed or better, and to take it a step further to get out of the first and second round, maybe just out of the first round. They need like a consistent KP. If he doesn't, either a consistent KP or a trade that gives them something back where it's someone consistent, maybe 2 people that are consistent, which I'm not necessarily a proponent of, but not sure yet.
It's frustrating because you've seen what he can do and his potential, and even more than his potential because he can do it. It's just consistency and him being able to stay on the court. So that'll be a huge storyline to look forward to the next week.
Coach
and
Killer.
Then also the guy, oh man, God, it's a terrible name for somebody. God.
And I'd also say like a little more. I'd say Josh Richardson's been a little underwhelming so far. So consistent. Josh Richardson. He doesn't even need to be the 3rd best player, but just consistent.
More consistency.
12,
do what he was.
Game in defense.
Do what he was brought here to do. Right. Defend the perimeter and knock down some threes. Man, he hadn't shot well at all.
Yeah, it's weird.
Not what I was expecting.
Yeah, he makes the weird three. He makes like a three where he's standing there for 3 seconds and shoots it up instead of just wide open threes.
Right.
And then ideally, like all that stuff, and then also maybe trade for a more physical big man. You can get one cheap, like JaVale McGee or Drummond are both available. I'm pretty sure. I know Andre Drummond is. But
You don't need him to score, right?
no,
You just need them to do big man stuff.
Yeah, like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Use all their fouls if they need to.
Yeah,
10 rebounds.
Okay. Okay. Good stuff, guys. So let's talk about the next 3 games. Nets, Magic, and Mavericks. Obviously, everybody's going to be looking forward to the Nets matchup. So, Robert, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the next 3-game stretch before the All-Star break?
Well, unfortunately for the Mavs, Brooklyn's been really heating up. KD
Harden's been ridiculous, and I'm the number one Harden critic that he's just a regular season guy and all he cares about scoring, and he's a cancer in the locker room and he's a punk. So kudos to him for showing me what he really is. You like him?
Showing Trey Rodriguez how it goes. Yeah,
I got in his head. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing from Harden there is just maybe some being humbled, kind of bouncing around a couple spots now. He's older, still hasn't won anything, so I think he's happy to kind of take a step back, not have to be the focal point, and just be a distributor, which he's doing a great job. It's opened up everything for Brooklyn. The defense has even gotten a little bit better, and so yeah, they're really hot right now. The Mavs, it's not a good matchup for them.
Yeah. Since when that trade happened, a lot of people were wondering who was going to be how are those shots? There's only one ball, how are all those shots coming? But Harden really took a back seat and took over the point guard role. Now he's averaging. I mean, he's okay with averaging like 22, 23 points, but also having like 13, 14 assists instead of 30 points. And that's without even KD coming back. So
right,
it should be an
and
interesting game.
In which KD's supposed to come, he'll probably be back for this matchup, and he's been sitting, and then they were adamant that he would come back before the All-Star break, so like just in time for us. So yeah.
But I think I'd be happy at the All-Star break we're 500, which means we lose 1 game, win 2 games the next 3. Obviously, what you'd think would be they lose the Nets game and win the other 2, except in the Magic. But
considering everything, I think that'd be a positive. That's a positive goal.
And when you think of their 3 postponements, the Pelicans, the injured Rockets, and the who's the other one, and the Pistons. I mean, I think being pessimistic would say you win 2 of those 3, and being like what they should do is win 3 of those. So,
well, let's look at. Oh, go ahead, Robert. If you have one more.
I was just gonna say, the 2 wins that we hope that we get, Orlando's not gonna be a cakewalk because, if Brooklyn is one of the hottest teams in the league right now, Vujacic individually has got to be one of the hottest players, at least from the past week.
All-Star.
He had a couple triple doubles. Yeah. He did his best Jokic impersonation. So that's going to be tough for us anytime there's a matchup inside. So.
All right, nice. Okay, so the next 2 games, we have the Magic, who are 13-20, and the Thunder, who are 13-19. So from a record standpoint, pretty similar record. And on the outside, just looking in, it seems like 2 teams that they should probably beat. So I know, Jacob, you were kind of saying, we expect to drop 1 against the Nets, and then we beat the Magic and the Thunder. So any more thoughts? We'll kick it to you, Jacob, first. But any more thoughts on what they need to do to beat those teams, or is it just, I say show up, but obviously more than show up, but just take care of business, I guess, would be the term that's used.
Yeah. Limit turnovers and show a lot of effort. And because tonight, we didn't even talk about this in the Philly game, but tonight they averaged 12 turnovers a game before the first half ended, they had like 14, I think. And when we started the show, which was like middle of the 4th quarter, and they were down by 20 or whatever, they had like 24. So,
might as well bring Jet back.
against bad teams, just handle your business. Hopefully KP can play all of those games, or at least 2 or 3.
Hey, or more recently, Wes Matthews, Trey. I think Terry passed on to Wes Matthews.
Man, you can't turn the freaking ball over, man. You don't even, obviously you don't even get a chance to shoot it, and you give the other team additional additional possessions. Okay, great. Well, we're going to go around the league a little bit, so we'll jump right into that. All right, guys, we're heading into the All-Star break. Certainly lots of talk about the All-Star snubs, who made it, who didn't, but also, going into that, it's always a big time, as we talked about before, for teams to make trades. So we'll just kind of go, kind of around the league right now and talk about maybe what are some of the larger storylines that are more surprising leading into the halfway point. So Robert.
Yeah. So obviously right now it's All-Star time. So, around the league would involve that, starters and snubs and things like that. But I think one of the bigger stories over the last couple of weeks was Draymond Green's comments about basically Andre Drummond's treatment. I guess they were in town to play Cleveland, and he saw Drummond. I guess Cleveland's getting ready. For those that don't know, Cleveland's getting ready to try to trade Drummond, and so in order to avoid injury, they're basically sitting him, not allowing him to play. So Draymond had, believe it or not, Draymond had an opinion on that, and I think it was a pretty fair opinion. I felt, I agreed with him pretty strongly. But basically, to sum it up, he was kind of comparing the situation to James Harden. He dogged it and forced his way out of Houston. And then you got somebody like Drummond who basically just does everything right, and the organization kind of just sits him. People find out that they're getting traded, basically on social media and things of that nature. So he was just really kind of took the opportunity, to say that some of these players deserve to be treated like humans, and they he had an issue with it, and so I agreed with them pretty strongly about it. They do get paid a lot of money to do a job, but they're people first, and it doesn't cost anybody doesn't cost you anything to treat people like humans. So I agreed with his point.
I'm not sure if like the Cavs and Drummond like mutually agreed to sit, but either way, like his point definitely. I mean, it's always the player's fault, never the like the GM owner's fault. Place in the NBA, like a lot of sports, but yeah, if the players want to like switch teams or whatever, don't want to risk injury. I mean, you saw it with Kawhi and San Antonio too. At the beginning, he got hated on it because San Antonio had this awesome reputation or whatever, but it's always the player's fault, never the organization's. Seems like.
Right. Yeah.
And
so he was trying to call out the double standard basically, which I had a long-winded way of explaining that, but it's true,
Yeah, it's happening right now with Blake Griffin too on the Pistons.
Yeah,
they're both they're both on my fantasy team. It's awesome.
What are y'all's thoughts, just in general, about the West starters and the East starters in the All-Star game? And then I would like, Robert, you actually created an all snub team. I always really like All-Star Weekend. I'm sure it's going to be a lot different this year, but the game is cool, but I don't know. I like seeing all the celebrities and all those other things that kind of go along with it. But again, the game is always fun to watch too. So what are, Jacob, we'll start with you. What are kind of some of your thoughts, or did you feel like anybody on your end really got snubbed?
Yeah.
Or somebody you're excited to see?
So everyone says like, if you say someone's a snub, you got to replace them with someone. Well, I have 3 replacements for this guy. Sabonis got, so the Pacers are the 4th seed in the East right now, 4th, and no All-Stars. And they had 2. They lost Oladipo, got LeVert. He hasn't played a game. Warren's been out. There's like 3rd leading scorer has been out the whole season almost. And Sabonis didn't make it. And see, Vucevic made it. Let's see what seed they are.
Jacob's from Indiana, just in case anybody was curious.
I was like, this is a Pacers fan. He's pulling out receipts.
Yeah.
Julius Randle made it, 9th seed. And then I was getting, my 3rd person was Ben Simmons, but I'm fine with him making it. But mainly those 2 other guys.
And you're saying because the Pacers are in the 4th seed, obviously.
Well, they're in the 4th seed, and let's say you want to say, oh, the Knicks and Magic haven't had their team, which the Magic had a lot of injuries. Well, Pacers have 2 of their best players out. and Sabonis has better stats than all those guys.
Yeah.
And
take
Miles
shots,
Turner, yes, and Miles Turner is not completely healthy. He's been playing, but he's been basically missing in action for
Yeah.
2 weeks, and Sabonis has been putting up great numbers.
His first 15 games, he was really good, and then he got like tweaked something, and now he's looked a little different.
Yeah.
So I think having a 4 seed. I mean, you have the Celtics who are 10th seed have 2 All-Stars, and the Pacers who are 4 seed have 0. So I thought that was kind of weird. And then like people are whining about Luka starting over Dame. I mean, Luka has better stats than Dame. They're a worse team, but they both dealt with a lot of stuff. I mean, McCollum's been out for a while and Nurkic has been out, but the Mavs lost 3 starters for 8 games and Porzingis for 14. So their record's worse, but Luka's stats are better. So whatever.
Is Dame, and I know Dame's great, and we saw what he did last year, obviously, but is he on Luka's level of superstardom?
No.
I mean,
okay.
Well, the All-Star, I wouldn't really take that into account because, I mean, the fan voting helped. Obviously, that's part of it, but like Luka's a better player than Dame by quite a bit.
Anyway, regardless. Okay.
Some people think it's close. I really don't. Like Dame's top 10, Luka's like top 5.
Yeah.
But it's just based on this season. But like I don't mind if Dame was starting over Luka, I wouldn't have complained. Like Dame fans are about Luka start. People are acting like it's a big difference.
They're overly sensitive. They got a chip on their shoulder just the way Lillard does.
Yeah.
Right.
The fans take on his persona. The team takes on his persona, which, man, I mean, you want Lillard on your team. He's a cold-blooded killer, but Luka is like a generational talent, man. He a notch above.
Well, Luka's better than Dame, and I love Dame, but like when so much people start to like, he makes you like have to defend somebody, so he acts like you're hating somebody, but I'm not. But Luka's better than Dame. Luka is better than Dame at 21. So
right,
it's crazy.
It's true. Any last thoughts going into the All-Star break? And I guess we'll have one more show before the All-Star break. But any final thoughts?
Yeah, I would say the Mavs right now, the 4th seed in the East is 15-15, which is what the Mavs record was before the Philadelphia game.
Okay.
So I guess my point's just I wish we're in the East.
Yeah, stay on the bandwagon because we're within striking distance, right?
Yep.
So a little more consistency, we'll be all right, hopefully.
And no players out for COVID. That'll help a lot too.
We're back stiffness.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, great stuff as always, guys. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. I did want to give a shout out, and obviously we're in the Dallas area. We all actually Robert and I grew up together. Jacob wasn't born when we were growing up, but we've known him since I guess he was about 1 year old. So if you're in the area and looking at Jacob, it reminds me of somebody that needs a haircut. Go to Dapper. Our buddy Randy, somebody that we grew up with. He's one of the owners over there. He started it. Great place to get a haircut. They'll get you a beer while you're waiting and while you're getting your haircut. This is not somebody that said, "Hey, I'm just gonna go start a haircutting place." Randy's been cutting hair basically his whole life. I think he used to cut people's hair in middle school. So go give them a look. And then there's 2 locations in the area, maybe even a 3rd one now. But again, it's Dapper. Go check them out. Great guys. So, support our buddies as much as you can, and follow him. He's very active on Instagram. And again, that's Dapper. So, let's show our buddy, and our boy some love. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Please please subscribe. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok. We're pretty active on those things. So would love for you guys to drop us a note. And obviously on YouTube as well, drop us a comment. Let us know what you think about the show, and we'll see you guys next time.